hey, why does the wealthiest man in the world, running the third most valuable company in the world, need incentives to open a headquarters? Dude, here's a crazy idea. Build your own fucking headquarters on your own dime. Stop being a socialist. You want to talk about socialists? The NFL team owners who squeeze towns for every last penny they can get to build a stadium. Last I checked, that's your private company that's operated for profit. Why does the local state or city have to subsidize your for-profit business? Stop being a socialist and pay for your own goddamn state. I give you a million examples. By the way, General Motors was notorious for being really rapacious in extracting deals that never worked. These things never work to the advantage of the municipalities. It's always a huge advantage to the company. Look what just happened in Wisconsin with Foxconn. They basically promised all this stuff. They rung all these future favors. Meanwhile, that LCD factory is not going to be built. We're not going to see 10,000 new jobs. The whole thing was just, as all these crony capitalist nonsense things are, they're always a giant fraud. There was a fantastic Bloomberg article earlier this week about this new carve-out in the 2017 tax reform bill that gives people on Wall Street special incentives and tax benefits to buy private jets. I mean, if you want to know why people today, why the millennials today and the young people today are enamored of socialism, look no further than this sort of bullshit. This is just a complete corruption of capitalism as Adam Smith envisioned it. It's corrupting. It's corrosive. Of course, young people look at it and say, wait a minute, I don't have health care. I can't afford to buy a house, but these guys are getting subsidized private jets. Fuck you. I'm going to join the Socialist Party. And if capitalists want to protect their own asses and save the system, they have to come out and say, hey, this is bullshit. Everybody has to follow the same rules. Here in New York, Google has just doubled the size of its workforce, and they're adding another 7,000 jobs without asking for tax breaks, without asking for special dispensations. They basically said, we understand the rules of the game, and we want to be here because this is where there's talent, and they're doing it very quietly. Apple is doing the same thing. Apple has a really substantial workforce in New York City without asking for handouts. When you're one of the three wealthiest companies in the world, hey, it's really bad optics to say, grease our palms or we'll go somewhere else. And I could give you hundreds and hundreds of other examples like that. I remember when McDonald's had set up a McHelpline so that instead of paying their workers a certain amount, they were moving some of their salaries off onto the social safety net. So you would call up your McHelpline and they would walk you through how to get food stamps and welfare. And it's like, hey, you're a private for-profit company. Don't ask me as the taxpayer to subsidize your labor costs. You know, and if you have to make your shitty hamburgers cost 50 cents more, then go do that. But it's not my responsibility as a taxpayer to subsidize that guy's football tickets or that person's hamburgers. This is capitalism 101, and we have forgotten this. We have gotten far, far off our path on where we're supposed to be. I'm sorry to have gone off on a rant, but I have to tell you, I find these NFL owners to be a bunch of chicken shits, cowards. Do we want to start talking about the financial crisis? Hey, see that building downtown with the nice columns on it? It's called a bankruptcy court, and if you're too fucking incompetent to manage your own risk, then walk your dumb little bank over there and declare bankruptcy. That's what it's there for. Don't come to the government and ask for a handout. Don't come to the Federal Reserve and say, rescue us. Fuck you, you're out of business. And I wish, not to get all crazy on you, but I wish more people understood what real capitalism is supposed to be like. It's supposed to be about risking your own capital, being creative, and innovating. Not, hey, I know a guy at the Treasury who will bail us out if this doesn't work. This sort of privatized gains but socialized risks, that's nonsense. That's not what capitalism is. And a guy named Nick Hanauer was one of the first outside investors outside of the family in Amazon.com 25 years ago, and he wrote a big piece a couple of years ago saying, hey, I'm a plutocrat, and I'm concerned that the pitchforks are coming for us. And it turned out he was very prescient. First, it was populism, and next it's going to be socialism. The capitalists in this country have to stand up to the cronyism, to the absolutely corrupt system that's Adam Smith would not recognize the economic system in the United States. We replaced a meritocracy with something that is just a corrosive, negative grift. And we can't be surprised when people get elected and are promising guaranteed incomes or health care for everybody or free college for everybody. Hey, if you're going to just give yourself tax breaks for private jets, why shouldn't I have health care? It's inevitable. It's not a threat. Here's the road we're going to go down unless the real capitalists step up and say, hey, carried interest, this is bullshit. Let's get rid of it. And they've been warned. When the shit all collapses, don't say you weren't warned, because it's coming. And until you cronies stop dealing with this, stop begging for handouts and begging for special tax cuts, this is not when you asked before about a debt bubble in China, I'm not worried about that. I'm worried about a bunch of pigs stealing so much in terms of crony tax cuts that eventually it all comes down.